When the Israelites were wandering in the desert after they were freed from slavery, God sent clouds to protect them from the wrath of the sun and gave them shelter from the elements. Each year, Temple Mikveh Israel commemorates those blessings by erecting a temporary hut, a sukkah, of boards and sheets, and hanging fruit to remind today's community of the struggles and blessings that are their shared heritage. Inside the temple, stained glass windows and plaques are etched with the names of people who did not forget the blessings of God. Inside the temple is the name David Byck.
The Bycks before me came over in 1841 and landed at Ellis Island and lived in New York for some time and then moved to Savannah in the 1850s. In the 1860s, the census where there are 3 Jewish families in Savannah.
Mr. Byck says he draws peace from the Sabbath.
It was the quietness on my dinner plate on Friday night. It just seemed like it fit me to go to services and to hear the ritual week after week.
The broad shoulders of the Byck family have borne the responsibility for the well-being of the temple through the generations.
The leader of the temple, the lay leader, is called a parnas. And David's father was a parnas. So David came to it naturally. When David's time came, he became the parnas of the synagogue and led it for 2 years. And several years later, David's son became the parnas of the synagogue. So you have 3 generations that became leaders of this synagogue.
Savannah High produced Mr. Byck, and the University of Georgia, and don't forget Uncle Sam.
Here's a young man that went into the Army, ended up being an artillery lieutenant on the front lines in Korea. And I think you learn a certain amount of self-reliance, of able to express yourself, because where he was, you better get it right or you're not going to come home.
Out of the service, Mr. Byck went to work for Lyons Realty, but he drew on skills that seemed almost inborn.
I found out that the motto, you gotta circulate to percolate, was certainly one to be followed. And I sold fuller brushes. I sold Bibles, believe it or not, when I was a child. And my father rode me in those businesses because he said that anything, if you could sell fuller brushes, you could sell anything.
After 8 years, Mr. Byck moved over to David J. Morrison Company, but soon found himself in a real estate business of his own.
Well, of course, he didn't really have a choice. Dave Morrison died, so he had to proceed and either go to work for somebody else or start his own company. So he did, and we said we'd make it. Together we'd make it. We did.
Businesses seek to build brands, distinguishing characteristics by which they're known. Mr. Byck called back to the temple and his family for his brand.
You want to put your faith in someone that you know would tell you the truth of the matter.
He embodies what is good about business people. Business people are about more than making money. They are about being a part of a community.
He always was willing to listen. He's a great listener.
He recognizes you and speaks to you, and that is success, being able to relate to people.
He personifies the gentleman businessman. You don't have to, business doesn't have to be, you know, cutthroat, rough and tumble.
He always chose the right path. He didn't necessarily choose the easiest path. He chose a path that he knew would be good for him, his parents, his wife, his children, his community, his business associates, his customers. He always did it right.
Mr. Byck's business philosophy found its way home and into the character of his children.
They always heard people speaking so well of their father that I think it made them realize that perhaps that was the way to do things, to be forthright and giving and honest.
He came home and it was all about the family. Very much turned it off and was with us when he was here. He wasn't talking about business at the dinner table. Now, got a lot of phone calls at the dinner table and always took those calls.
In the 80s, before the bloom of SCAD, downtown Savannah was rusting, a problem that led to the founding of the Small Business Assistance Corporation.
The city of Savannah decided that they wanted to put together an organization that would address small business development issues. When they came together, they elected David to be the chairman.
Money was made available to startups like Elizabeth's on 37th Street and a home cooking enterprise about which you'll hear more a little later. But the focus was Broughton Street, and the success of the initiative can be determined by a short stroll today.
What they do there is really honorable, and it's a nonprofit community development organization, and what they do there is great.
Every year, without fail, David will attend our annual meeting, and it does me great pride to introduce him as our founding chairman, because it tells the folks that are new that this organization has been around for a long time, and it's been associated with people of quality.
People wait when you get there. That's right, they want to eat.
1,600 people who can't leave their homes will eat today thanks to Meals on Wheels and David Byck, who followed his mom as a central figure at Senior Citizens.
Seeing her work on it inspired me to get involved with Senior Citizens.
To generate enough food to feed so many people, Senior Citizens embarked on a campaign a few years ago to build a new kitchen, and David Byck rolled up his sleeves.
But we were not wealthy, and so his contributions to society here in Savannah were not monetary. They were sweat and blood.
He was not afraid to do it. And it is humbling to ask your friends and then ask your friends for money. And he said, this is important and this is what we need to do. And he was the leader.
But beside him in that project and every other is Ellen, wife, mother, and partner, and all the things that make David Byck successful.
She is lovely. And she is so loving and loyal towards David and to their family.
The two of them, I think, make a great pair.
They kind of come as a package, which is what I love. I mean, that's the kind of partnership that you really want. And she worries about him and he worries about her. And they obviously have a marriage that any of us would want to emulate.
In his family, in his profession, in his religion, and in who he is, David Byck is someone the entire community would do well to emulate.
And I've had many realtors come up to me at various real estate functions and say, oh, if we only had the reputation that your husband has.
He always had the highest integrity in everything he did.
I have never met a man who had more kindness and integrity.
David Byck, that's my friend.
David Byck is a laureate in the Savannah Business Hall of Fame.